But we will continue to fight the good fight, and we will continue to prevail because the folks of Florida need this representation. And it will take time for them to recognize that the laws that were just passed were very, very short-sighted, that they are something that is going to be far more detrimental to them in the future than the short-term looking at it that they might save a few dollars off their premiums. It requires a certain level of confidence, it requires a certain level of understanding, and ultimately, if you want to get your point across, you need to know and have a strategy as to what your goal is. And so communication is the key to everything.
Okay, so we are here with my good friend, and am I allowed to say my good friend, my attorney? You're always,
Listen, man, there can only be one. It's kind of like the Highlander.
Okay.
So, if I am your chosen attorney, I am honored.
You are definitely the person that I go to. You are the person that I call. I think we talk at least once a week we speak.
We do.
And you're always there to share advice and share your expert opinion on things. And I truly appreciate that.
Listen, I'm happy to do it. I mean, it makes for a better claim and a better result.
So this is all about you. This is not about us. This is not about Commercial Claims Advocate. I want to talk about David Farber and the Farber Law Firm. And I'd like to just get started by you really try to get into detail and get into specifics about how you started in your law career and how you got into this.
Sure. I mean, it goes back quite some time. I mean, early on, I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And I was in the trial team for my high school. We actually started it. So before I even went to college, we were trying cases at Broward County Courthouse. We happened to win regionals, and we went up to districts or whatever it was up in Tallahassee, and we were competing up there. And that sort of got my bug for law, but I always knew that I wanted to be as marketable as I could, depending on what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. So I went to the University of Florida, and I majored in finance and insurance. Not too many people know that there's actually an insurance degree, but yes, there is an insurance degree, and I felt that was probably best because my father has been an insurance agent probably at that time for at least 20 plus years, and he recently retired, but you come to me for questions, I used to go to him for questions. And it was interesting because he received different kind of training than I did as a lawyer to look at different things, because he was always on the side of the policyholder, where if he was going to sell a product, he wanted to make sure that they got paid. So every time he was told something about a product or an insurance contract that didn't allow for coverage, and I said to him, hey, I think it does, he'd say, hey, I think you're right. I'm like, now I feel better about the product that I'm selling, and I agree that these people should get what they pay for. And so I felt at that point in time, it made a lot of sense that I start transitioning into the law. So I taught business law at the University of Florida and graduated with honors and went over to the University of Miami, where I was on the state and national mock trial team, and had a great deal of experience in learning how to be an advocate and stand on my feet and get things done. And upon graduating, I then started at an insurance defense firm, which is now the largest insurance defense firm in the state of Florida. And I helped grow and ultimately run their first-party insurance coverage practice, where we were representing all of the main insurers at the time. And I was controlling an army of associates and paralegals. And ultimately, I got into this because I wanted to learn the ins and outs of a defense practice to know what the tricks of the trade are, the defenses as to why they delay, deny, and defend. And now, having learned that and litigating against some of the best plaintiffs' attorneys at the time, for which there were a lot less at that time, I said, I've now gained enough experience that I can go do what it is that I set my heart to do when I became a lawyer, which is to stand up for the little guy, to provide a voice to people who can't otherwise provide a representation for themselves or understand some of these complex insurance issues. So that's how I got into insurance, and I have continued in that path since as early as high school.
So besides the fact that it's obvious the experience that you had, because if I asked you, what puts you at an advantage, working on the side that you're on now is obviously the experience that you gain working on the defense side.
That's right.
Okay. Could you be a little bit more specific without being too specific on what would you say were some of the most important things that you learned working on the defense side that you're sort of able to use to your advantage now working on the other side?
Well, I had some good mentors at the time where I was working, and they began by showing you the ropes. But what the best way for you to be able to learn is what is the expression? Trial by fire.
Mm-hmm.
And they essentially said, "Hey, this is your area. This is you need to learn it, and you need to get good at it." And because, of course, I did not ever want to be in a situation where I didn't feel adequately prepared, or the person who knew the correct arguments, I did everything and anything I could to be able to know the ins and outs of all the policies, all the arguments, all the case law, and do everything I could that when I walked into court, I felt as confident as I could be to answer any of the judge's questions. So I kind of learned most of what I know based upon just spending the time and putting in the hours to be able to appreciate what it is that insurance companies look at and how they defend these cases. And more so, how the adjusters, who are not lawyers in most cases, instruct the attorneys in terms of what it is that they're looking for and the pain points for them. So having had that experience working at a defense firm, I got to learn what are the best arguments that win, what are the arguments that lose, and how to appease my adjuster clients so as to make sure that I was adequately and appropriately doing, for lack of a better word, damage control. Because realistically, I used to say to my clients, whether they liked it or not, unless you have a lock, stock, and two smoke and barrels coverage defense to this case, you better settle it. Because if you're going to be defending this case against a top-notch plaintiff's attorney and he knows what he's doing and he's not willing to let you out of this case, you're going to be paying double, triple, quadruple the amount of money you could pay if you settled this case now fairly and reasonably. Some of my clients agreed and we got rid of cases and I hopefully saved them a bunch of money. Other times the client decided to fight just for the sake of fighting, and we did our best to do damage control because with a smart lawyer who knows what they're doing and how to do it, those lawyers can get the job done for their clients. And I've been able to learn what they did to be able to do what I do now. My greatest strength, I think, as a plaintiff's attorney is going to be communication. I think everything comes down to communication. It's how you communicate to the court. It's how you communicate to your client. It's how you communicate to the public adjusters, third parties. It requires a certain level of confidence. It requires a certain level of understanding. And ultimately, if you want to get your point across, you need to know and have a strategy as to what your goal is. And so communication is the key to everything. Now, you can't be a bullshit artist. You have to understand what it is that you're communicating. But if you communicate it in a way that's effective, you're going to more than likely have someone at least appreciate what it is that you're telling them and take it under further or greater advisement than somebody who they know is just bullshit. The single most important thing I learned when working on the defense side is that adjusters, judges, plaintiff's attorneys, and all of those folks are just people, okay? And as much as it seems like they have the ill intent for somebody, it's not truly the case. It's just that there's a lot that's going on. There's a lot of moving parts. So as a defense attorney, you need to be able to effectively be able to dissect the law and communicate it properly to everyone, because that's how people make informed decisions. And so that's what I would say. The Farber Law Firm, I'm very proud of it. Obviously, I started it, and I'm pleased to be able to represent the clients that I want to represent for the cases that I like and believe should move forward. It started where, as I mentioned before, I was at the insurance defense firm for about 6 years. I was about to be named a partner, but ultimately decided that it didn't make sense for me to continue along this path. So I left my good friends at the law firm, and they wished me well and said, have a great great career moving forward. And if you need us for anything, just reach out. So, and I have done so over the years, and we've maintained those relationships, which is part of being a good lawyer, that if you respect the people on the other side, they'll respect you and you'll get more accomplished. So having those sort of connections for me in the state of Florida is very good when I tell them I'm an alumni of that particular firm. So the Farber Law Firm used to be called the Law Office of David S. Farber, PA. And to an extent, it is still. The Farber Law Firm started in 2008. But I'm not the type of guy who just runs into stuff blindly. I recognize that while I appreciated, studied what my opponents did to be the best lawyer I could possibly be, I recognize that just going out and hanging a shingle, while ambitious, wasn't potentially the smartest thing to do. So I joined a national law firm of some of the strongest plaintiffs of catastrophic personal injury lawyers who were a spinoff from one of the major law firms in the state. And we started this firm together, and I was handling multi-million-dollar...
Year? When was this?
This was in 2006. Okay. 2006, yeah. And we started litigating cases of a personal injury nature, mostly catastrophic, wrongful death, paraplegic, major breach of contract actions. They got the best of the best cases because of who they were and the type of lawyers they were, having hit major corporations for hundreds of millions of dollars. These were serious guys who knew what they were doing and how to do it. So I said, all right, now I've been at the defense level and worked with some of the best defense lawyers, and now I've been at the plaintiffs level and I worked with some of the best plaintiffs lawyers. It's now time for me to do my own thing. So in 2008, I started the Farber Law Firm, actually in this building that we're in today. And I did it with first I worked out of my house. And in a very short period of time, I was able to attract as one of my first clients, Williams Island Homeowners Association.
Nice.
Yes, for their Hurricane Wilma claim. So people had heard about what I do and how I do it and my experience in the past, and felt that I would be well suited to be recommended to folks to be able to represent their insurance claims. So I came out running as soon as I started, handling mostly reopened Wilma claims.
But was this with the firm that you joined forces with, or was this the Farber Law Firm?
Well, it started at that plaintiff's law firm because what had happened was there was business that was associated with first-party insurance claims, and it wasn't their central focus. They didn't really know how to do those claims. I did because I was a defense lawyer, and I handled it and ran an entire division about it. So having had that experience, I realized that I wanted to not only deal with the catastrophic injury cases, but I wanted to get back to my roots of the insurance cases. And so while I handled a couple cases there, which were the first party cases, I then transitioned to open my own plaintiff's catastrophic personal injury law firm with an emphasis on insurance coverage claims and cases. And as soon as I came out and started my own practice, I was inundated with reopened Hurricane Wilma claims. So I didn't even really focus that much on personal injury. It still came to me, thankfully, because people looked out for me in the community. But ultimately, my practice primarily centered around first-party insurance coverage work.
That's one thing we have in common. We started with Hurricane Wilma and Katrina reopens.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I was starting in 2000, with all of everything that existed before. But as a plaintiff's attorney, absolutely, that's where I cut my teeth, as they would say. What differentiates me is obviously not too many people have the same breadth of experience that I do. Having been one of the main attorneys at a statewide defense law firm running an entire first-party division of Miami, kind of separates me from most of my brethren to begin with. That's the first thing. The second thing that probably differentiates me against others is my work ethic. I truly, put everything I have into my cases and into the issues and into trying to prevail on my clients' cases. It's important to me, both for my reputation being able to make the best arguments I can, and for my clients' well-being to hopefully bring them the result that I'm looking for. Now, in terms of how to say whether I'm better or worse than any other law firm or lawyer out there, I can't tell you what they do or don't do. I can just simply tell you what I do. And what I do is I work my ass off, and I believe in what I do and how I do it. And having had the experience at all different levels in different areas, because it's not just hurricane claims, it's just not pipe claims, it's just not roof claims, it's not just fire claims. I mean, it's the gamut of business interruption, whatever the case may be. It's being able to be in the trenches, understand the issues, be able to adapt, because the policies change, right? So you can't just be lazy in this practice. You really have to be on your game. And I truly consider myself someone who wants to be and always is at the top of my game to be able to bring home the bacon, man. How do we intend to continue to make an impact on the plaintiff's bar of insurance, given the current legislation that has been passed and proposed? It is going to be very difficult, but we will continue to fight the good fight, and we will continue to prevail, because the folks of Florida need this representation. And it will take time for them to recognize that the laws that were just passed were very, very short-sighted, that they are something that is going to be far more detrimental to them in the future than the short-term looking at it that they might save a few dollars off their premiums. I agree, premiums are too high. They should go down. People shouldn't have to pay this much for insurance coverage. But I can tell you it will be far more catastrophic for them when they suffer a loss and they either have to go on it on their own, or they hire an attorney, or the attorney won't take the case, or they take the case and they say, listen, we're going to have to handle this slightly different, because ultimately, although we're going to do our best to bring you the result that you're looking for, we have to wait a certain period of time so as to generate additional value to the case, which is known as a proposal for settlement. And I think what you're referring to as to the legislative changes, one of the largest or the biggest one that's going to be detrimental, is that they have taken away the ability to get attorneys' fees and costs post 2023 for all claims which arise after 2023. And my hope is that within time, either that law will somehow be declared unconstitutional, although there is no exact constitutionality associated with an insurance company paying your attorney's fees, and or the folks will realize that they have done a disservice to themselves, because we don't want a property insurance crisis. I get that, but we don't want a homeowners crisis either. We have a lot of retirees here. We have a lot of people on fixed incomes. We have folks that don't have enough money saved in their coffers to be able to weather the storm of insurance losses. So lawyers like me are still going to be here. We're still going to be fighting the good fight. We're still going to be trying to get the insurance companies to do what's right by our clients. We're not going anywhere, okay? And the insurance companies should know that. And we are ready, willing, and able to take their cases to the next stage, which is litigation. Why should public adjusters consider contacting me for legal advice and or recommending me to their clients? Well, hopefully it's because I've demonstrated to folks within the industry that I know what I'm doing and that I'm available. Meaning that when you pick up the phone and you contact me because you have an issue or a problem or a concern, I'm going to pick up that phone and I'm going to be able to hopefully provide you with some advice that's going to make your job better or easier on behalf of your client. I don't want all of your cases. I want you to present your case the best you can to an insurance company and try and get the result you're looking for, because that's ultimately the goal here. There shouldn't be a reason for me, there shouldn't technically be a reason for you as a public adjuster, but because we know the climate that we work in, we're both needed. And if they reach a stumbling block where the insurance company is not doing what they're supposed to do, I would hope that the public adjusters listening to this would understand that you need an advocate, a fighter, a bulldog who's willing and able to do what's necessary to get the insurance company to change their mind. And what you need is somebody who has the communication skills and the breadth and understanding of the law to be able to communicate why the insurance company is wrong and to be able to get that claim paid faster and for more without further aggravation to the insured. And that's what I bring to the table, because you don't want somebody who's too inundated with claims because they're never going to get around to your claim. You don't want somebody who doesn't know how to communicate and only knows one tool in their shed, which is a hammer, and then everything looks like a nail. Okay? You don't want an attorney who doesn't live, breathe, and eat and sleep the law in this area and always is striving to move on to the next and better stage of his career or her career. You need a lawyer that you know that you can communicate with, trust, and that your client can feel comfortable in having them serve as their attorney. Because, guys, one thing that could be detrimental to you in your practice is recommending the wrong attorney. Because if you recommend the wrong attorney and it goes south, guess who looks bad? You. And that's a recipe for disaster for you as a public adjuster, because you only get one opportunity to make a good first impression, right? And if you go and you squander that opportunity, that person is going to potentially negatively speak about you and your business. And that's a real problem, especially for public adjusters who sometimes sign up cases within the same community. So if you've signed up 10 or 15 people within a half a mile radius, they may all know each other. And the next thing you're knowing, they're all getting together, and it's a potential problem for you. But if you have them saying, hey, that lawyer is doing the best that he can, he's on top of the game, he always answers my emails quickly, he always responds to our communications quickly, he is doing what he can, we understand that the law takes time and that there's some pain points associated with this, but people want to be told and treated like adults, and they don't want smoke blown up their, they want to hear it as it is, but they need to hear it from the horse's mouth, which is why communication is key. The Farber Law Firm runs on a daily basis, moving at the speed of light. We have some excellent people that work with us. We have Maria Rojas, who is my right-hand woman, who has been a paralegal for got to be over 25, 30 years. She makes me look good. And she does a lot of our scheduling. She does a lot of our responding to discovery, or at least preparing the draft answers. And she's also an excellent communicator, and we're very, very thankful that we have her. She has been working with me, I guess, close to 9 years or so. If you interview her and she tells you something other, that's as bad, I guess, as forgetting, my anniversary. But I know that with my wife.
I think it's longer.
It could be, but it's but yes, we're very thankful to have her. We also have Jenny Posada, who is our receptionist, scanner, and all around great person who does a lot of client interaction and make sure that our clients are happy and that they know what's going on, and or they make sure that there is a opportunity to get to speak with us. There is Gigi, who is new to the firm, but she has a great wealth of experience and knowledge, and she's a powerhouse, man. She is setting those depositions. She's not letting people, try and take advantage of us. We're playing that offense as opposed to defense, which is allowing folks on the defense side to have to stay on their heels, which is where we like them. And we're really benefiting from her assistance, and that's been great. We have Sebastian Martinez, who is a lawyer here, who has been with me several years now. And he has a similar passion for the law and being the best that he can, and is also an amazing communicator. He's done a great job. I try and do a lot of hand-holding only because I believe in education like you do. I believe that if you're going to be in this practice, that you need to do it the best that you possibly can. So it is not unusual for me to even educate defense lawyers to be like, listen, the way you're going about this is wrong. This is the way you could or should go about it if you want to be effective in what you're doing. And some people may say, well, why do you do that? Why would you help them? I help them because I want a worthy adversary who knows the right arguments, because there's nothing worse than trying to defend against somebody who's making ridiculous arguments. So make the right arguments, let the court rule as the court should, and it will be as it will be. And since my success ratio of turning cases into money is, probably 96, 97%, I would say that it's worked well for us as long as I've been doing it the way that I've been doing it. We also have several people that are off-site, as well as some virtual assistants. So we have an entire team of people ready, willing, and able to handle whatever's thrown at us, be it new cases, be it trials, be it depositions back to back to back to back, which we've been doing a lot of that lately, especially since everything now is set for trial. So we are rocking and rolling every single day and getting clients paid and making people happy. Naming a good story that is something associated with something that went well with a claim. Well, respectfully, with a 96, 97% success ratio, they would all be success stories. And I don't mean that braggadociously, but realistically, to point out one of our many victories it would not be a good service to all of the others that came before it. I mean, certainly I could talk about times where there were complete denials, however many of the hundreds of cases I've handled that complete denials that have ended up paying tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars after the time we were done. Am I proud of that? Sure. Am I proud of situations where we represented condominiums and they said it fell below the deductible of like $150,000, and by the time we were done with them, they were paying over $1 million plus. I mean, and did that 4 times with 4 different condominiums. I mean, I'm thrilled with those results, and of course my client was thinking that they were dead in the water, but they met the right public adjuster and they had the right team in place to be able to successfully bring them the results. I mean, I always laugh to myself on some level, and this is something that you all need to take it truly, truly to heart. There is a reason why insurance companies are denying claims or delaying them or defending them, because they earn money on the money that they owe you, okay, or your client realistically. And that, my friends, is a business model. And that is something that if you don't shut down and get that money sooner rather than later, they continue to make money on that money they owe you. And I tell you this because it's not that I'm trying to say that all insurance companies are doing wrong because they're holding this money. I tell you this because realistically, the insurance companies are businesses. And as a business, to be successful for their shareholders, they have to make as much money as they possibly can, and or they have to have enough money in reserves to be able to pay out claims. And as we've seen recently, there have been many insurance companies who were either undercapitalized or mismanaged in terms of their running, or defended cases where they shouldn't, or whatever the case may be. And that is, in some respects, why some of those insurance companies have gone under. And the success stories that are going to be associated with all of what has come before, including those insurance companies that have gone under, a lot of them came as a result of the fact that insurance companies take ridiculous positions. And because they take ridiculous positions and they make us fight about things that don't otherwise need to be fought about, they end up costing themselves more money than is otherwise necessary. So realistically, I think the best success story is the success story you can tell where you can say, insurance company either denied or underpaid a claim, and within a very short period of time after we filed the lawsuit, we were able to close that claim with monies that made our client happy, attorney's fees and costs, and everyone goes about their merry way, and they get to start their life over and begin rebuilding and making their home their castle again. Because it is completely unfair, as my father said, for people to pay for something like insurance and not be able to access it or use it. So these success stories are going to be ultimately tempered on some level because they took away these attorneys' fees and costs. And that was a pain pressure point that the insurance company would want to settle faster. Now, will they? I don't know. But we'll find out. And we're certainly going to make them spend the money in defending these cases one way or the other.
David, thank you for taking the time. As usual, you rock the house.
Thank you. And Vince, as always, thank you for spending this time with me and doing what you do. I mean, I've known Vince for a very long time now, and I've had the opportunity to see him grow both as a public adjuster and in commercial claims advocate. And I couldn't be prouder, man. It's a testament to your knowledge and everything you've learned from me, and his communication skills. I mean, communication didn't just stem from the representation of clients, which was always great, because truthfully, folks, by the time you refer an attorney, and I'm not saying it has to be me, although I'd like it to be, that client was already like, Mr. Farber, would you please take my case? And I said, it's nice that I be, thought of in that fashion. Why did these people love me before I even got here? And now that, when they do, they're so thankful because Vince did such an excellent job in getting them prepared for understanding that, claims are not just, two-sided, their position, our position. There's a number of facets that go into the entire evaluation, which could be legal, could be appraisal, could be all of these tangential things that if you're a good communicator like Vince is, they're prepared. So if it goes legal, they know what to expect. If it goes appraisal, they know what to expect. If it goes off the rails, they know what to expect. And that's what it's all about, man. So thank you, Vince. Great job, my friend.